Hey, what's up, everybody? Frederick Pogue here. So I'll just go ahead and apologize in advance. This is probably going to be a longer one. I'm a little bit in my feels this morning, in a good way. First, I want to say thank you to all the supporters, people who've commented, shared, watched, or read anything I've put out here. I never expected missives from a middle-aged man to grow like it has. I didn't even think I'd have 500 subscribers before the end of this year, let alone at last count over 5,600. Your comments and your support, really mean the world to me. They truly do. And I'll kind of get into that, of how I kind of got here. See, Barack Obama was the president that inspired me to become politically active. I wasn't in my 20s at all. In fact, I kind of had a very unexamined worldview. But, the first thing that I examined was religion, Christianity. And then after that, I started just taking ethics classes and philosophy. I started examining political views I held, a lot of them that were contradictory. And so by the time I got into graduate school, I got inspired to get politically active in around 2012. Got politically active in that election. I had become a Democrat before that, but about 2016, I was in aviation. I'd wanted to go into federal service, but sequestration under the Republicans and Boehner kind of killed my security analyst job in the Department of the Navy. I wanted to follow in my father's footsteps. I wrote about that in a piece called Folks Like Us, and the influence in the good ways my dad had on me and my upbringing had on me. But I couldn't really do much for Hillary. I was moving from Philly to Detroit to take a transfer there. That happened in late summer in 2016. And I was already kind of preparing for that months in advance. So by the time her campaign really started rolling, I was getting my ass kicked in a station that was in the midst of a transfer, or like they'd taken on a new vendor. And it was a big responsibility. I was working 60, 70-hour weeks. But I did vote for Hillary in Michigan. But part of the reason was I didn't think that she really had anything to worry about. I looked at Trump and thought, man, there's no way these people are going to vote for him. And we saw that turned out. Thought the same thing in 2024, and we saw how that turned out. And I was a part of this Facebook group in 2016. We were kind of raucous. It was a lot of fun. But Trump's election kind of shattered it. After that, it was just people got upset, freaking out, and it just that was it. Within a couple months, it just fractured. And when MAGA started forming, I also was in the midst of another move, going into Los Angeles and making a career transition into entertainment, and that turned out to be much, much more difficult than I thought it would be. But by that point, I'd kind of started to get burned out. I'd started to get skeptical about, my fellow Americans. I started seeing the MAGA movement and all the craziness that was going, and the lack of moral consistency and principles from people that were supposed to be the party of moral consistency and principles. Now, I kind of knew all that was bullshit before then, which is why I became a Democrat and why I left the church. But just to see it kind of so blatantly, and the, more difficult mental gymnastics people had to go through to justify all the changes coming from such an obviously horrible person like Trump, I was just like, okay. And so by the time 2020 rolled around and the pandemic is in full swing, and I've got family members that were full on MAGA, you know, basically telling me, towing the party line with Trump. And I've got friends who were still working in aviation. I had left that time that were dying. And I'm looking on Facebook and I'm seeing all these memorials more and more often, and a lot more from people of color. Yeah. I don't want to say it broke me, but I just said, well, to hell with all y'all. I'm done. You know, I cut off MAGA family members because I didn't want to deal with it. I'd post a little bit here and there about politics just to kind of explain things to folks, but it was only in my Facebook page and, you know, my personal friends. So the reach wasn't that far. But the last thing I wanted to do was talk about politics again. Like, I was done with it. Wanted nothing to do with it. But this last time I was at a convention in Vegas, and, you know, for film and television. And I was thinking, and I kind of optimistically said to my partners, yeah, man, we'll have, you know, a couple things to celebrate. It was like, we're going to do here and make some connections and, you know, push on these projects we've been writing on for the past 4 years. And then we'll celebrate Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, you know, winning. And just like 2016, that did not happen. Well, I had to have a meeting in LA, so I rented a car and drove on down, and I got a hotel off of Sunset Boulevard. It was kind of kitschy, and, you know, they were running a deal, and I thought, well, you know, I've never had the full Hollywood experience, you know, at least the cliche one. So I said, okay, you know, it's right near the Comedy Store and all that. Let's do it. And I thought, it was like, yeah, I could explore and walk around. You know, I met a friend up near there, you know, near the Rainbow Room. And, you know, we did that. But I wasn't taking any joy out of it. You know, I had this sense of dread that just kind of sat with me. Even, you know, the only thing that would kind of alleviate it would be these creative meetings I was having. But I found myself just kind of walking around and sitting and looking at the lights at night, you know. And that's when I wrote Morning in America, first thing I published on Substack. Not for really wanting to get back into it or anything. It's just, it had to get out. You know, I had to write something other than a script. I had to write something other than just professional work. And I didn't really, I wasn't thinking about, hey, where would this go or what am I going to do with this? Like, no, man, just write. Just write. And I told myself, I'm going to stay away from politics. You know, I want to write about, you know, my journey through therapy and some of the insights I've made. Because first and foremost, what I try to do with anything I put out is, I hope it helps someone else, right? You know, that maybe some of the things that I've learned, if there's any wisdom to be found, somebody else can make use of them, you know? Because the last thing I want to do is a vanity project. I don't have the energy for it or the inclination for it. And, you know, I didn't know where any of this would go. I just kept writing just to have something to write on. It's like, well, I can either despair or I can do something. And this is about what I can do now. So I'm going to do this. And things kind of picked up. And it turned out that there were other people that felt like me. Turned out there were a lot of people that felt like me. And that has been the best surprise that I should have known was there. But it's been a great surprise. And it's given me, well, hope. You know, the guy who inspired me in 2008, his campaign message, it's given me hope. You know, and most days because of that, and maybe that's the blinders that I have because I'm on this side of it, I have hope. Even though things are dire, and even though things like this press conference yesterday, you know, with Zelensky, is just, it's shocking. It's another violation of norms. And you've got, the maggots just parroting all the talking points and seal clapping along like they do. But you know what? I don't care. It is what it is. Because what I'm seeing is a lot of folks that they want to do something. They're just like me, sitting in that hotel room, on November 11th, 2024, after that devastating loss, that feeling of betrayal, and just saying, man, I can't let this one sit in my chest, man. I got to do something. And so I guess what I'm saying is thank you for all the support, everything you're doing. It matters. It matters to me, and I guarantee you it matters to somebody else. And just like the piece I wrote the other day, giving the world your imperfect love, man, every one of you has a skill set. You have something. You matter. You have something to contribute. Doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to be amazing at it. Most of what this is just showing up. It's showing up in numbers. Maybe even it's just rallying somebody else who is good at something. Hey man, you're doing good. It's that word of encouragement. And that's really what this video is. We're doing good, guys. We're doing good because we're starting to show up. And the more we show up, the more good things are going to happen. I believe in us. I still believe in America. I still believe in that unfilled promise that we can fill it one day. All we got to do is keep going. All we got to do is do something. We just got to show up. Anyway, I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much. Keep the faith, defend democracy, and I'll see you later.